everyone, this will be your video for using the unit circle. We're going to be learning what the unit circle is, and then we're going to be able to use it to find all 6 trig functions of any value on this unit circle. So here it is. So it does get a little overwhelming with all this information at once, so we're going to break it down into pieces here. So looking at the basis, we have a circle. It's on the XY axis. So you can see you have your X and your Y. And you can see that the center of the circle is at the origin. It's at 0, 0. Now this circle has a radius of 1 unit, and you can tell because between the center to the edge, it's at the value of 1, 0, which means that we went over 1 in our X's. You can also see in our Y's from the center to the edge over here, we're at now the point 0, 1, so we're up at 1 in our Y's. That means that this radius is also 1. So that's essentially how you can create a unit circle. So now we need to break down what's on the inside. So you're going to see measurements in 2 different ways. You're going to see the degree measure of an angle, or you can see the radian measure. So it's showing you where all of these measures are located. You don't need to use any sort of angle measuring tool. You can just look right here and see what the line matches up to what angle. And then from here, now we actually get our information. And when we're looking at these points up here, we need to realize that these are written as the cosine value of that angle, comma, the sine value of that angle. So for instance, if I were to try to find the sine of pi over 3, I'm going to look at my line that contains pi over 3. And I need to remember that this point is cosine, sine. So my sine value of pi over 3 is root 3 over 2. We're going to also be using the unit circle to find not only cosine and sine, but tangent, secant, cosecant, and cotangent as well. So just keep in mind that you're going to be finding more than the information that is just given to you right here. Alright, so here we are with our example of what your problems are going to look like this week. You're going to be asked to find different types of trig functions. So we're just going to practice finding them all for this one angle, and then you can use these to find whatever one you're being asked for. So this example is asking us to find all 6 trig values for 7 pi over 6. So that means that not only are we finding the cosine and sine, because that's what's given to us on our unit circle, so we can always just get those written out. So like sine of theta, and you know what, we can actually write in 7 pi over 6. We'll find the cosine of 7 pi over 6, and then the tangent of 7 pi over 6. Then we can also find the cosecant of 7 pi over 6, the secant of 7 pi over 6, and then the cotangent of 7 pi over 6. So let's start with the easy ones. We'll start with cosine and sine. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to find 7 pi over 6 on our unit circle. So it's down here, and you can see that you can go in your values, and we're going to be above pi, right? Because pi would be 6 pi over 6. So one more, we have 7 pi over 6. So remember that our points here, think of it like alphabetical order, cosine, sine. C comes before S. So cosine, sine, we have them right here already. We can write them out. So our cosine is going to be negative root 3 over 2. And then when we look for our sine, it's the one that's in the y value, so it's negative 1/2. So these are the ones that are straightforward. Now we'll have to do a little bit of arithmetic to work for the rest of these values. So let's just kind of zoom in over here. So for tangent of 7 pi over 6, we know that tangent is sine over the cosine. So if we can take our sine value, which is negative 1/2, and put it over our cosine, which is negative root 3 over 2, we'll be able to simplify. So we could use keep, change, flip, where you keep your top fraction, change to multiplication, flip your bottom fraction. So now we have our 2's cancel. I'm just going to scroll up. And we end up with negative 1 over negative root 3. So this isn't quite an acceptable answer right now. Not only do these negatives cross out and this just becomes 1 over root 3, we can't have a radical in our denominator. We've learned this a few times now, and this is something that's called radicalization. So we can't have it here. We need to make sure that we get rid of this radical in the denominator. And to do that, we'll just take whatever that radical is and multiply the top and bottom by the same thing. We're just rewriting, we're not changing any values here. So you can see that now in my numerator, I'm left with root 3. And in my denominator, I'm left with just a 3 because that's what root 3 times root 3 is. So this is now my solution for tangent. You leave it just like this. The 3's don't cancel because one is a square root of 3 and one is 3. So they're not the same. This is perfect. So now let's talk about our second 3. So let me just fill this in up here. We'll have root 3 over 3. And we have our tangent, cosine, and sine. So we're good on this first group. Let's look on the second half. So recently we've been learning that these are what's called the reciprocal functions. These are the inverses of our first set of 3. So all I need to do here is take the reciprocal. So that means that this becomes now negative 2 over 1, which is negative 2. This secant now is going to get flipped over, so this is going to be negative 2 over root 3. We do need to do what we did below on the tangent where we multiplied by root 3 over root 3. Again, we're doing this to eliminate this radical in the denominator. So we end up with negative 2 root 3 over 3. So there's your secant. And then cotangent, we're going to flip our tangent over and we have 3 over root 3. Again, we can't keep that root 3 in the denominator, so we'll do times root 3 over root 3. This one has a lot of 3's in it, so we have 3 root 3 over 3, and I promise that's the last 3 you're going to have to write. Okay, so this is how you can find all 6 trig functions for any value that you can see on your unit circle. You can make sure that you can find your sine and cosine. Using them, you find your tangent by doing sine over cosine. And then once you have all 3, you can find all the rest by just reversing them, taking the reciprocal. Apply this to your problems for this week, and if you have any questions, just let me know.